This is not another short-lived internet drama, nor a typical celebrity headline that disappears within 24 hours. This is a story that unfolded slowly, quietly, and then suddenly returned to the center of public attention in the United States, this time with legal consequences and serious allegations that could no longer be ignored. At the center of it are three names already familiar to the American public: musician Ronnie Radke, frontman of the band Falling in Reverse; Brittany Furlan, comedian and former Vine star; and her husband, legendary rock musician Tommy Lee. But what makes this story stand out is not just who they are, but how the boundary between the online world and real life appears to have become increasingly blurred. The story begins last year, when Brittany Furlan publicly spoke about being contacted on social media by someone she believed to be Ronnie Radke. According to her statements at the time, the communication felt convincing, personal, and real, until inconsistencies began to emerge. It later became apparent, she claimed, that the situation may have involved catfishing, with someone allegedly using the identity of a well-known public figure. At that point, the story received media attention but gradually faded. For many observers, it appeared to be another cautionary tale about online impersonation, digital identity, and the risks of social media. Ronnie Radke denied any involvement in the messages, stating that multiple women had reportedly been targeted by someone impersonating him. He also suggested that authorities had been informed, describing the situation as serious and potentially criminal. For most people, that seemed to be the end of it. But for those directly involved, it was not. Over the following months, the issue resurfaced sporadically through podcast discussions, comments, and brief references, but without major developments. That changed at the beginning of January, when the situation took a dramatically different turn. According to court documents reported on by U.S. media outlets, Ronnie Radke filed a request for a temporary restraining order against Brittany Furlan on January 4. In the filing, Radke alleged that after he stopped responding to messages, he experienced behavior he described as harassing. According to his claims, the interactions escalated from online communication into real-world encounters. The documents state that Furlan allegedly appeared outside his residence and remained there for a period of time, and that she later followed him to a medical appointment, where she allegedly waited outside and watched him. It is important to note that these are allegations contained within a court filing and represent one side of the story at this stage. What intensified public interest even further was the timing. Just days earlier, Brittany Furlan had reopened the discussion through a series of Instagram stories. In those posts, she claimed that she believed there had been no impersonator at all, and that Radke himself had been responsible for the messages. She also made additional claims that immediately drew widespread attention, though they have not been substantiated through legal findings. Shortly after, Furlan's legal representatives issued a public response. In a statement provided to U.S. media, her team said she was offended and surprised by the filing of the restraining order request, asserting that she was, in fact, the one experiencing harassment. They indicated that they would pursue all available legal avenues to contest the petition and to ensure her protection. At that point, the narrative reached a critical impasse. Both sides were publicly asserting that they were the victims. For the American audience, this marked the moment when the story shifted beyond celebrity gossip into a more serious and complex legal and social discussion. When court filings, public statements, and social media collide, the situation becomes less about speculation and more about real-world consequences. Another layer of the story emerged through emotional context shared earlier by Brittany Furlan on her podcast. Reflecting on the period when the initial incident occurred, she described experiencing deep loneliness and emotional isolation. In that context, she mentioned turning to conversations with artificial intelligence as a source of comfort, describing the interactions as unexpectedly supportive and reassuring. That statement alone sparked intense discussion online. Some viewed it as an honest and vulnerable admission, others as unsettling, and many as a reflection of a broader cultural shift, one in which technology increasingly fills emotional gaps in people's lives. Meanwhile, Tommy Lee publicly addressed rumors of a separation, firmly denying them through social media and stating that he and Furlan remained together. His response underscored how public and emotionally charged the situation had become, extending beyond legal filings into the personal lives of those involved. Despite the volume of commentary, statements, and speculation, many fundamental questions remain unanswered. Who sent the original messages? Where does online interaction end and real-world accountability begin? And how can truth be determined in an era where digital communication is easily manipulated and identities can be misused? At present, the only confirmed reality is that a legal process is underway and that a court will ultimately play a key role in determining at least part of the truth. Until then, the public remains in the role of observer, closely following each new development as it emerges. This situation has grown into something far larger than a celebrity dispute. It reflects broader concerns about online identity, emotional vulnerability, and the increasingly thin line between digital interaction and real-life consequences. Regardless of the outcome, it is a story that will continue to be examined, discussed, and referenced as an example of how deeply interconnected the online and offline worlds have become. And as the next legal steps approach, one lingering question remains: how many similar stories unfold beyond public view, and how many never reach this point at all?